All right, get ready, because today we're diving into something big.
Huge.
Launching a successful business.
Exactly.
We're talking marketing strategy.
The core of it all.
With a classic, the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing.
By Ries and Jack Trout.
Think of it as your marketing playbook.
These laws are like fundamental principles.
Whether you're a seasoned pro,
We're just starting out.
we've all got our notes.
Highlighted passages.
Maybe even some coffee stains on those pages.
Hopefully not too many.
But by the end of this deep dive,
You won't just know these laws.
you'll understand how to use them.
To build a brand that truly stands out.
In a crowded market,
It's about understanding
how customers make decisions,
how to position your business,
so you become the obvious choice.
even if you're not the first one out there.
Okay, let's jump right in.
Let's do it.
With a law that can be surprising.
The law of leadership.
Being first in the market.
Often more important than being better.
Imagine trying to launch a new cola.
Today,
Going head-to-head with Coke or Pepsi?
daunting, right?
Even with the most delicious cola ever.
The odds are stacked against you.
So it's not enough to have a great product.
You need to capture attention first.
Heineken,
Great example.
first imported beer to make a splash in the U.S.
Decades later.
Countless competitors.
Still at the top.
Like they secured prime real estate.
In the consumer's mind.
That's powerful.
Absolute.
Chrysler did the same thing.
With the minivan.
They created the market.
Dominated it for years.
Makes you think about finding your niche.
Especially for new businesses.
If you can't be first in a massive category,
Can you be first in a smaller one?
like Acura
The first luxury Japanese car.
or Charles Schwab,
Pioneering the discount brokerage world.
they found their space,
Exactly.
and it leads to the law of the mind.
Being first in the mind.
More important than being first in the marketplace.
Sometimes even if your product was technically first.
It's irrelevant if no one remembers it.
The MIT's Altair 8800.
The first personal computer.
Where are they now? Perception is everything.
Marketing is about winning hearts and minds.
Not just showcasing features.
Like trying to overwrite something on a computer.
Easy to delete and type over old text.
Changing someone's mind about a brand.
A whole other challenge.
Look at IBM.
They weren't the first to make computers.
But they won the perception battle.
Became synonymous with the category.
For years.
And Xerox.
Dominant in copy.
Couldn't break into computers.
People had a fixed image of them.
It's amazing how even a name can have an impact.
Back when the PC market exploded.
A name like Apple.
Pure genius.
Easy to remember.
Different from the competition.
So how do you make your brand stick?
That's where the law of focus comes in.
Owning a word in the prospect's mind.
It's like giving your business a superpower.
That one word advantage.
Instead of being everything to everyone,
Choose one powerful benefit.
one concept that people instantly associate with you.
Crest-owned cavities.
Volvo-owned safety.
Domino's-owned home delivery.
Powerful single words.
Federal Express.
Another great example.
They laser-focused on overnight delivery.
They sacrificed everything else.
And ended up owning that word.
This is where it gets strategic.
Especially if you're not the first to market.
Entering a space with an established leader.
That's where the law of the opposite comes in.
Aiming for that second place spot.
Define yourself against the leader.
So instead of trying to be better,
You highlight what makes you different.
appeal to those who might not be thrilled with the leader.
Think about Pepsi.
The drink for a new generation?
In contrast to Coca-Cola's classic image.
Or Scope, highlighting Listerine's intense taste.
To promote their own milder formula.
And then there's Beck's beer.
They played on the perception that Germans know good beer.
Marketing themselves as the German beer that's the most popular in Germany.
Even though Lowenbrau was more popular in the US at the time.
They turned the leader's strength
Into their own unique selling point.
brilliant.
Winning in marketing requires sacrifice.
The law of sacrifice.
You can't be everything to everyone.
It's like decluttering your business strategy.
It's tempting to cater to every customer.
But that often weakens your impact.
You're better off dominating a niche.
Than being a weak player across the board.
Just look at Federal Express.
By sacrificing all those other delivery services.
They became the kings of overnight shipping.
Duracell made a similar move.
Focused solely on alkaline batteries.
Ultimately beat out every day.
Which had a more diversified product line.
And Toys R Us.
From a failing department store.
To a toy empire.
Simply by focusing on one thing. Toys.
They made it the destination.
For everything toy-related.
And that specialization was their key.
It shows the power of identifying your core strength.
And going all in on it.
Speaking of bold moves.
The law of candor.
Sometimes admitting a weakness,
can actually be a strength
honesty can be incredibly disarming.
and build trust.
Like Avis and their We Try Harder campaign
They embraced their number 2 position
turned it into a positive
by suggesting they were more dedicated to customer service.
because they had to work harder.
Smuckers didn't shy away from their unusual name,
They owned it.
made it memorable,
Even Listerine
known for its intense flavor,
turned that into a positive.
by emphasizing its germ-killing properties.
It's like saying, we know we're not perfect.
But here's why we're still the best choice.
That kind of honesty can resonate.
Especially when every brand tries to be perfect.
Exactly.
It makes you relatable.
Now let's get real.
Okay.
You can have the most brilliant business idea.
But without resources.
It's tough to get off the ground.
The law of resources reminds us.
Money talk
You need funding
to get your message out there.
to compete.
Apple is a prime example.
Fantastic product in the early days.
But it took Mike Markula's investment.
To turn their vision into reality.
And then there's A&M Pet Products.
They invented clumping cat litter.
Game-changing.
But a larger competitor copied the idea.
And with deeper pockets,
Outmarketed them.
it's a tough lesson.
But a crucial one.
It's not just about the idea.
It's about the resources to bring it to life.
And that's why all these laws work together
You need a solid strategy.
to guide your investment.
And make every dollar count.
Absolutely. So we've talked about being first,
Focusing your message
even using your competitor's strengths.
to your advantage.
But how do you navigate a market?
Where multiple players are already competing.
The law of the ladder.
Understanding your place in the customer's mind.
Like a mental ladder.
Different brands on each rung.
The higher you are, the better.
But even if you're not at the top,
There are ways to climb.
Avis,
Great example.
they were struggling to compete with Hertz.
Who held the top spot?
But then they had this brilliant idea.
Instead of trying to be Hertz,
They focused on those who weren't sold on the leader.
their We Try Harder campaign,
A stroke of genius?
they owned their number 2 position,
Turned it into a positive.
suggesting they were more dedicated to customer service.
Because they had to work harder.
It's a great lesson.
You don't have to be number 1.
To be successful.
The key is understanding where you stand.
And then crafting a strategy.
That leverages that position.
Choosing your battles wisely.
If you're a new business.
You're probably not even on the ladder yet.
So your focus should be
On getting on that ladder.
making people aware of you.
Then you can start climbing. Which leads us to,
The law of duality.
in the long run,
Every market becomes a 2-horse race.
we see it everywhere.
Coke versus Pepsi.
Nike versus Reebok.
McDonald's versus Burger King.
These 2 dominant brands emerge.
Often representing different sides of the same coin.
Yeah, the established brand,
The old reliable.
and then the upstart,
The challenging.
the alternative to the leader.
Like we talked about with the law of the opposite.
So for someone starting a new business,
You need to decide,
which horse you want to be,
are you taking on the leader?
or finding a different path.
And markets are constantly evolving.
That's right.
The law of division.
Over time.
A category will splinter into 2 or more categories. It's like watching something divide and multiply.
Think about computers.
Started as one big category.
Then divided into mainframes.
And the computers,
workstations.
personal computers,
And so on.
an ongoing process.
We see this in so many industries.
Beer, music,
Even countries.
and this is where new opportunities arise.
Instead of trying to be everything to everyone,
You can focus on owning a specific niche.
as it emerges,
That's all about being adaptable.
paying attention to how your industry is evolving
You might spot a new category
for anyone else.
and dominate it.
That's the entrepreneurial mindset.
But even with the best strategy,
There will be setbacks.
the law of failure,
Failure is a part of the process.
especially when you're trying new things,
It's easy to get attached.
to a product or a campaign,
But sometimes the best move.
is to recognize when something isn't working.
And cut your losses.
Don't be afraid to walk away.
The Japanese have a saying,
Oh,
fail fast, fail often. They understand that failure is a learning opportunity.
Their business culture is fascinating.
They have this consensus-driven approach.
So they can admit mistakes.
Without assigning blame
It helps them be more objective.
and pivot more quickly.
Makes sense.
Now, speaking of objectivity,
Okay.
the law of hype,
Don't believe everything you read.
especially about businesses,
Sometimes it's the complete opposite.
of how it appears in the press.
Exactly.
When a company is truly successful,
They don't need hype.
their results speak for themselves.
Hype is often a sign,
That a company is struggling.
trying to compensate for a lack of substance,
With flashy headlines,
like new Coke.
so much hype.
But it flopped.
It didn't address a real need.
Or USA Today.
Launched with fanfare.
But struggled to find its footing.
It's a good reminder.
Focus on building a solid foundation.
Delivering real value.
Don't get distracted by hype.
Substance over style.
Building something that lasts.
Which brings us to the law of acceleration.
Successful programs
Are built on trends.
not fads,
Recognizing the difference.
between a wave that crashes and disappears.
And tide that steadily rises and falls.
Fads are fleeting,
Trends have staying power.
like the Barbie doll.
Tapping into a long-term trend.
Decades.
Still going strong.
The Cabbage Patch Kids
A classic fad.
exploded in popularity.
And then faded.
So don't build your business on something fleeting,
Look for trends with legs.
something that reflects a genuine shift.
In consumer behavior or values.
Now let's talk about success,
The law of success.
a cautionary tale.
Success often leads to arrogance.
And arrogance can lead to downfall
It's easy to become complacent.
when things are going well.
Start to believe your own hype.
But the market is always changing.
What worked yesterday?
Might not work tomorrow.
Like Donald Trump.
Incredibly successful in real estate.
But then he overextended his brand.
Stakes to airlines.
Diluted his core message.
Contributed to his troubles.
It's a reminder for everyone.
Stay humble.
Stay focused.
Stay connected to your customers.
Don't let success go to your head.
Speaking of overextending a brand,
The law of extension.
perhaps the most violated law,
That pressure to leverage a successful brand.
by putting that name on everything,
But more often than not,
it just leads to confusion.
weakens the original brand.
Like IBM.
Synonymous with mainframe computers.
But then they tried to get into everything.
Software to consulting.
Diluted their focus.
Hurt their brand.
Microsoft too.
Powerhouse in software.
But struggled with hardware.
It's a trap.
Companies think success will automatically translate.
To other areas.
But in
That
reality,
could often backfire.
makes it harder for customers to understand you.
It can even alienate your core audience.
It's a great reminder
It's better to be known for one thing.
than to try to be all things to all people.
Focus on what you do best.
Build your reputation around that.
Now, business is unpredictable.
That's for sure.
The law of unpredictability.
You can't plan for everything.
No matter how much research,
How many spreadsheets?
there will always be surprises.
The key is to be adaptable.
Don't be afraid to change course.
Like the rise of the internet,
Disrupted countless industries.
to those who adapted,
Yes,
those who clung to the old ways.
not so much.
The ability to adapt and evolve.
Just as important as a solid plan.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about a powerful law.
Okay.
The law of singularity.
In each situation,
There's often one move
one big idea.
that will produce substantial results.
It's not about doing a lot of little things,
It's about finding that one game-changing strategy.
like Domino's Pizza,
Their focus on home delivery
transform their business,
made them a leader.
or Federal Express.
Their commitment to overnight delivery
They identified a need.
and built their entire business around it.
So the key is
To find your unique angle
the thing that makes you different and valuable.
and then build your strategy around that.
But how do you find that one big idea?
It's not always obvious.
That's for sure.
It requires a lot of thought
Research,
and experimentation.
but understanding these laws,
Applying them to your situation
you'll be in a much better position.
to identify that game-changing move.
We've covered a lot of ground,
A lot.
but there are a few more laws,
That can give you a real edge.
especially when you're starting out.
Right.
Let's talk about
The law of attributes.
finding your unique selling proposition.
That one irresistible quality.
That makes you stand out.
Even if you're not the biggest brand.
It's like your secret sauce.
What makes customers choose you?
And here's a twist.
The best attribute to own
Is often the opposite.
of what the leader owns.
So it's about finding a gap
A need the leader isn't fulfilling.
and positioning yourself as the solution,
Exactly.
like Tylenol,
The gentler alternative to aspirin
capitalizing on aspirin's reputation.
for causing stomach upset.
They saw concern.
And offered a solution.
And then there's Stolichnaya vodka
They called out American vodka
for being fake Russian vodka.
simply by pointing out they weren't made in Russia,
That's smart.
using the letter's strength against them.
Like judo.
Exactly.
But it's not enough to just claim an attribute
You have to back it up.
with a solid product.
And consistent messaging.
This is where many businesses falter.
Trying to be too many things to too many people.
And ending up standing for nothing.
Right.
Like that quote, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything.
You need a strong identity.
And you have to make sacrifices.
To truly own an attribute.
Narrowing your focus.
Turning down
That
opportunities.
don't align with your message.
Even being willing to alienate some customers.
It's about choosing your battles.
And committing to winning them.
You can't please everyone.
Oh, you can't.
So don't even try.
Exactly.
Once you've found your attribute.
And you're building momentum.
Stay the course.
The law of consistency.
The importance of consistency.
In your messaging and your brand.
Building a brand people can trust.
I think of White Castle.
Successful for decades.
Sticking to their original concept.
Small, affordable burgers.
No frills environment.
They know what they are.
And they don't try to be anything else.
And Coca-Cola.
Another great example.
Sticking with their classic formula.
Iconic branding.
Minor tweaks over the years.
But the core essence remains.
So don't be tempted to constantly reinvent yourself.
Find what works.
Stick with it.
Consistency builds trust.
And trust builds loyalty.
Of course, sometimes change is necessary.
Yeah.
But those changes should be strategic.
Not just reactions to the market.
Now, let's be realistic.
Okay.
The law of mortality.
All brands eventually die.
Sounds a bit morbid.
But it's actually liberating.
It frees you from the pressure.
Of trying to create something that lasts forever.
Instead, focus on the present moment.
Like the tech industry.
Things move so fast.
Once dominant brands are now forgotten.
Replaced by newer companies.
So embrace change.
Let go of outdated products and strategies.
Always look for new opportunities.
Have the courage to evolve.
To adapt.
To reinvent.
As the market demands.
Don't be afraid to let go.
Even if it was once successful.
In today's media landscape,
where consumers are bombarded with messages,
it's crucial to understand.
The law of substantiality.
Marketing isn't about making a lot of noise.
It's about making the right kind of noise.
Whispering the right message.
In the right ear.
Finding the right channels.
Where your audience is receptive.
Think about how much marketing we see.
That just washes over us.
Clutter, noise.
Ineffective.
Because it's not targeted.
Or meaningful.
Like trying to have a conversation.
At a rock concert.
You can shout.
And no one will hear you.
You need a different way to connect.
So be strategic.
Up your efforts.
On the right channels.
And craft a message that resonates.
It's about quality over quantity.
Exactly.
Now here's a law that challenges assumptions.
The law of commonality.
The most effective marketing
isn't always the most creative or original.
Sometimes the simplest ideas are the most powerful.
Think about Nike's Just Do It.
Not fancy or complex.
But incredibly effective.
It taps into a universal desire.
The drive to achieve.
A call to action.
An affirmation.
Just 3 simple words.
And McDonald's.
Consistent success.
Delivering what people want.
Affordable, familiar food.
Served quickly and conveniently.
They don't try to be trendy.
They focus on what they do well.
And they do it consistently.
So marketing doesn't have to be complicated.
Sometimes it's about common sense.
And understanding your audience.
So what have we learned?
From this deep dive.
Into the 22 immutable laws of marketing.
Building a successful business.
It's about more than just a great product.
It's about understanding the consumer.
Making strategic choices.
And adapting as the market changes.
These laws aren't guarantees.
But they're a valuable framework.
It's worth thinking about marketing.
And making smart decisions.
We've covered a lot.
A lot.
But hopefully you're feeling energized.
And inspired.
The market is always changing.
But these laws are timeless.
They can guide you.
On your entrepreneurial journey, keep learning.
Keep experimenting.
And most importantly,
keep diving deep.